Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're so thrilled here today. I'm Kathleen Elmore from Engages, but we're thrilled to have Lorelei from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan here with us, who's going to talk about AEP, OEP, communication tactics and strategies. Welcome, Lorelei, and you've got such a great career. I'll ask you to say a few things about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So Lorelei Parrish, you're right, Director of Marketing and Communications in the Retail Sales and Marketing Unit at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. Been here since 2023, and prior to that, I primarily worked at agencies. So think big agencies all the way up to Wonderman, to even smaller agencies that are local here in the Tampa Bay area where I live, and even down in Bloomington, Indiana, or I guess for me it's up in Bloomington, Indiana. Worked for myself for a little while as well. That's how you and I met. So yeah, it's been an interesting career, but it has all been spent in healthcare. So supporting health plans, hospital systems, and even some pharmaceutical. It's been an exciting ride. Healthcare is very challenging, so I very much love what I do.
Absolutely. That's a great background. It's a great background for the work you're doing now. And so I wanted to focus on the AEP, OEP enrollment cycle. What are the most common misperceptions around communications that you see in the industry, and what should people be doing differently?
Yeah, so it's Medicare. So I think generally speaking, it's confusing. It's confusing to even some of us that still work in the industry and have for a while because it's ever changing. But I think, really from a consumer perspective, we're all very aware that the timing around it, when can I enroll, when can I not enroll, what are the eligibility requirements between AEP and OEP, those have been around for a while. And because they've been around for so long, I do think that, health plans, we do a great job of making sure when we're putting communications out there that we're educating on that, especially for the group that it's most relevant to, which is those that are new to Medicare, whether you're 65 or you're late retiree or there's other circumstances. The misunderstandings really come more from that group than anywhere else. Some of the more emerging ones that I've seen, though, very recently, this past AEP, we started to notice that seniors are price shopping, which is, an interesting concept for Medicare because I think most of us know you can't price shop. It's the same price no matter if you go on Medicare.gov or if you go on a website that the carrier owns. If you go to an agent, it's not like car insurance. If you go somewhere else, the premium is what the premium is. And then really the second one that I feel like is most noticeable is that people are thinking they don't need to review their ANOC. It is, a not fun legal document. CMS really dictates what we can and can't put in there.
Sure.
But it's very critical in understanding, is this the best plan to fit my needs going forward, or do I need to shop? And, with those two misunderstandings, it could really put a senior in a bad position where they don't make a choice, or maybe with the price shopping, they enroll 3 or 4 different times and they don't remember the last plan that they enrolled in is in fact what they get. They use their benefits, come around January 2nd, and they get the big, this is not going to work for me. And it's unfortunate because if you think about it, CAPS is right around the corner.
Absolutely, right.
And satisfaction at that point, it's not great, and it could really hurt your CAPS scores, especially for members, for instance, that they don't read their ANOC, they just trust and accept the plan. That could be pretty detrimental going forward.
And so what kind of, those are both great points. And so what kind of communication outreach do you do to kind of overcome both of those misperceptions, or, kind of getting folks to read their ANOC, or at least understand kind of a quick guide to what's changed? What are some of the things that you work on to combat that?
Yeah, so education early is really, really critical. And yes, I know that none of us can talk about our benefits until a certain point. And before that, ANOC is one of those points where it's it's very much about getting them engaged in that thought process of, I need to stop and think about, what are my financial needs? What are my health needs? And have that documented, or at least in your head, where when the ANOC does come around, they're prepared and they know it's important that I read this. Or at minimum, if this is something that I don't feel like I can understand, I know where to reach out to or where to go online to get information that's a little bit more clear and a little bit more simple so they can make a better decision. And then, of course, reactive right after that, depending on how you do your segmentation. Those members that either need the most help or most priority to the organization, you want to continue that communication. Make sure that they really understand how their benefits are changing year over year. And if needed, shift them in a different direction based off of what their utilization has been. So they truly are in a plan that'll meet their health needs and their financial needs.
Absolutely. Those are two great strategies. What other are some of the other strategies that you employ to really optimize those two periods of time?
I think personalization is a big one for us. And I know that personalization can be very difficult for a lot of carriers getting to the data. I mean, when I worked for agencies, that was always the biggest struggle of, you want to create a robust plan that is based off of what you know of your members in order to get them to retain appropriately or to switch plans. However, sometimes that data can be disjointed, and pulling it together and then synthesizing it and creating a model that can be leveraged and is actionable for marketing. I mean, that's not an easy thing to do. So I think that, that's a challenge that a lot of carriers are dealing with. But outside of personalization, I do think that testing is extremely important, and being able to leverage something like AI to help with optimizing that and to have more rapid, because if you think about it, that time period is very small, of right before the ANOC and right after the ANOC, when things are fresh in their mind. Right. If you are not prepared with different messages or with different kinds of content through different channels, then you may not even be able to reach a member to get them the CTAs to take that next action that the business really needs.
I love that you brought that up, and we were so honored to work with you on your last round of A/B tests. I think it's such an underutilized tactic in healthcare, and you personally did it and led it beautifully. And what I love about A/B testing during the acquisition timeframe is it's very actionable. You get feedback right away, and so you're able to kind of re-implement it. Is there anything surprising you found out that you'd be willing to share? And obviously, so much is confidential, but just sometimes it's those little aha nuggets that can be really meaningful. Anything that you can share, and it's okay if you can't.
Yeah. I am very big on testing, as we're cut from the same cloth, most definitely. And I've really ingrained that in my team. We always need to be doing testing because we need to do different and we need to do better. That's at the core of my team. And this past AEP, I think we ran 20 to 30 different tests. There were a lot between, acquisition and retention. And really our focus this past AEP was around retention. Want to make sure that we keep the market share that we've always had and that we've spent a lot of time growing. But what I wanted to do was test something more on the behavioral economic side, because that's the most powerful messaging tool that we can possibly use. And I took it to a place of transparency and trust. That is critical with members. It's a cornerstone of not just Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, but really all Blues. Blue Cross stands for a trusted brand. But being able to test on that is pretty difficult. How do you really show members that you can be trusted besides, just doing your very best of providing honest information? So that's what we did. We took it a little step further, and we did take a very big risk in encouraging our members to go out to Medicare.gov. That's how confident we were that they were making the best choice with us, of sending them to a place where, yes, they could go shop. We could lose our members.
Pretty amazing.
Yes, but from a psychology standpoint, if you think about a company willing to say, here you go, look at us in an unbiased place against our competitors, you really stop and think, wow, they are looking out for me. They do want me to have the best possible plan. And we did find that, in fact, it does work. We saw some really great retention rates, and that was just based off of a contingency plan. It was a last minute campaign that we decided to do right before AEP ended, just to kind of wrap a bow on everything. And it really worked out in our favor. And it's interesting because I've tried tactics like that before, of sending individuals, whether it's with retention or acquisition, to places like Medicare.gov. And it does not always work out. I think it was very much brand specific. It was because we are blue, and that's what we are known for.
That's amazing. What a great, that's a great testimonial to creating transparency for consumers. And in doing so, you get points, right? You get trust, and then they view it differently when they're going to that portal to compare. Congratulations, that's a great example. Yeah. And so, going back to the hyper personalization, and again, you're ahead of most. I still think the industry as a whole is in this one size fits all mode. And especially when it comes down to translating the brand and what it offers to different segments, like how did you kind of help, make that happen in terms of kind of really tying groups of people to groups of benefits as you kind of launched those campaigns?
Yeah, so you have to have a really good partnership with your analytics team. You're drilling down into a lot of details, and it's not just from the most recent utilization. You really want to look for patterns, because we're talking about people and their health, and things go up and down, and there are uncontrollable anomalies, as we all know, that might make someone appear that they have very high utilization and they need a plan that supports that, but it was very situational. It was an acute incident. So looking over, a good couple of years, you can start to pull back the layers of what are their normal behaviors outside of those acute incidents, and how do then we create business rules to match that up with the new portfolio that you're going to be launching. And obviously, providing recommendations isn't necessarily the wordings that we use. We want people to make their own choices, but there is a way that you can go about it and present a few different plans, so people feel like they have options. That's always a big one, is people need choices. Giving one option does not get you very far. But if you can make it relevant, we see that, you are pretty consistently seeing your PCPs, your cardiologist, and you can really save 45, 50% if you look at this other plan. Sure. Even though the premium might be a little bit more, it truly shows that the health plan took the extra effort, that you care, which will make them care to listen to what you have to say and take that next step. I do agree with you that things have gotten to the point where we're all putting out the same messages. We're all taking the same approaches. So the only way you can differentiate yourself is to show that extra level of effort. And that matters at the end of the day, because it's Medicare Advantage has really turned into a commodity. It's like Kleenexes, and Kleenexes, they're a brand. It's not actually a thing. Tissues are the thing. So breaking free from the mold makes a big difference.
Lorelai, I think that's probably the most important takeaway. We're not finished the podcast yet, but honestly, of breaking through with differentiation so that consumers can basically compare and say, this is the plan I want because of XYZ, is such an important piece. And it's even more important. You mentioned the shopping and switching at the beginning of this, but DEF research showed that This past AEP was the highest in shoppers and switchers. Do you expect that to continue? And if so, how should plans be rethinking what they're doing?
I do. I do not think that anytime soon that the market, just very much the industry as a whole, is done right sizing because Medicare Advantage is very, very challenging. And there's that balance between putting out rich products. So seniors have the healthcare benefits that they've worked very hard for. And so a company can grow versus the long-term financial stability. It's a bit of a shock to the senior market. If you think about when $0 plans first came out, they just got richer and richer and richer. And everyone ended up having just these incredible $0 plans. I mean, some of them to the point where there's cards that they'll help you pay your electric bills. That's not a great long-term strategy, unfortunately. Just not the way that the industry is going. So although I don't think benefits will continue to degrade, they are going to shift and evolve. And that's going to be a continued shock for seniors who are used to how it was of being just these great plans. So I do think that seniors will continue to look for the best plans for their needs. And it'll take a while for them to be able to adjust and accept that this is not 10 years ago. This is
Sure.
a little bit of a new reality. And, especially as CMS evolves and depending on the administration that's in office, in 3 years, I could be saying something completely different. Who knows? But for the time being, I do think that shopping is going to be pretty prevalent, no matter if it's in the state of Michigan or nationally. It's just going to be a result of how products have to evolve and carriers have to evolve for the situation.
I love that you brought up proactive right sizing. I used to be in, the wireless industry, and proactive right sizing at the end of every, your year's subscription was like table stakes, right? Because this was back with roaming charges and network drops and things like that. And so we'd look at your usage and we put you on a new plan that would better fit it. And it ended up, saving like 40% of the people that were planning to churn. But in healthcare, I've only seen it done once before. And when we did it, we helped a plan do it. It ended up driving 20% more retention than the folks. And we only did it for people that had significant ANOC changes. But it was powerful. And so I'm so happy you said that, because we don't see it much. Of course, we didn't. You might be doing it and we don't know it. But it is one of those things that could be really a great kind of table stakes in this new world we're living in of people voting with their feet and shopping.
I agree. Yes.
So I want to switch topics to AI. And so everybody's talking about it. Whether people are actually using it or not is still kind of up and down depending on who you talk to. So how do you think about kind of where AI is for right now with health plans, and how do you see it impacting your specific organization and the work you do for consumers?
Yeah. So Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, we very much have adopted AI technology. It has been a fantastic tool for an efficiency standpoint. It just allows us to do so much more. And we continue to find opportunities to not only make us efficient, but to also help from a financial and a cost standpoint. How can we allow those efficiencies to then us making plans better and services better for our members? From a marketing standpoint, I love AI. I'm in the same boat as you. I wanted to do so much more right now, but obviously, it's that crawl, walk, run stage that everybody has to go through. So, we're absolutely using it for initial content creation. It's a great starting point. You have to make sure that you understand those prompts. That is truly key to it, at least to get something out of it that you want to use and you can use as that starting point. So training is extremely critical with those types of tools. But what I get really excited about isn't even the content creation. I've known so many great copywriters in my life that I kind of feel like, we can let them do their jobs. But It's using AI to really execute and implement your campaigns and to manage the testing process. So if you think about Meta, it's built into
Oh my
anytime you do
gosh.
paid social, it's already there, it's in the platform, and it's really taking that whole methodology and then applying it to everything that you do. So it's going through your email, it's testing of your landing pages.
Sure.
It's using it for direct mail. It truly is allowing us to do more rapid testing because unfortunately
Right.
during AEP and OEP, it's short periods of time. So it's regulated and it's very difficult to be agile with that. You have all
Right.
of your reviews with CMS, and so you can plan ahead of time and then leverage the AI to really work through all of that great content that you're able to create. So that way you can see the numbers go up by the end of the year versus constantly doing this year over year. That still is important. You want to do better every year, but it's exciting knowing that we can start to see, can we do better 2 weeks into AEP?
Amazing.
And by the end of AEP, it's not a matter of, these longer term comparisons. You can have more immediate comparisons.
That's great. So your AI is highlighting, hey, it hits statistical significance on subject A or subject line A versus B. Quick, let's switch the volume and continue with subject line A or whatever, whichever one wins. So a great example. And then finally, kind of what final words would you have for people? There's a lot of people, again, working right now to work on their AEP materials, and then pretty soon we'll switch to OEP. Kind of thinking about the future, is there any other kind of like final words of wisdom, Lorelei?
Yeah, I really hope that with the Medicare industry changing and evolving from that product standpoint and things becoming more normalized, there's not as many outliers with extremely rich products or, the polar opposite of it, that from a marketing and communication standpoint, that people start to break out of that mold that you and I were talking about earlier in the conversation, start to be different, start to remember that you are communicating with people. And I think that human factor has been pulled out of what we do sometimes. It's all about making sure that we give people enough education, give them the plan information, and then leave it to the agents.
Sure.
But we really are marketing to individuals who they want clear information. They want someone to talk to them in plain language of, you pay this and we pay this. It's that simple. So I think being less complicated will be a defining factor going forward of just be clear, simple, to the point. Use the same language like you and I talking right now. Think about sitting across the table from your grandma. And
Right,
how would you
yes.
explain this to her versus getting too technical and too jargony, and presenting too much information to where it feels like overload and then people don't make decisions. We as an industry have to change that in order, I think, for really Medicare Advantage to be successful from a marketing standpoint. It's been pretty stagnant for quite some time now, and I think we're all a little overdue for a change.
Wise words. So, Lorelei, another question. There's so much news on brokers these days. People are kind of shedding them for Part D, standalone Part D plans. Kind of brokers have been in the news just for kind of the various tactics, loopholes that hopefully we're closing in the future. What's your feeling on brokers and just kind of the vision of the future for how important or not important they are in your world?
Yeah, I understand the concern. There are some bad agents, and I don't mean to use the agents as a pawn, but there, there's bad situations in every industry. There's always someone out there who might bend the rules a little bit too much. So I know firsthand, at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, we partner with agents. All the local agents is really the backbone of our growth, we rely heavily on them. And the more that you can partner with them and as much as possible inform them of your business strategies, of your marketing strategies, of where you need to go, then they tend to not stray off into that area of what I would consider, desperation of we're going to try and do anything we can to make a buck. We really don't see that at all. We have no issues from a field sales or from a telesales standpoint. We partner with some really great agencies. And, I think it's important for payers to really understand that, agents are trying to do what's best for their clients, their customers. Most of them, again, not all of them, but most of them do want to ensure that the seniors or whoever else they might be serving are getting the best health plan, because that's how they get repeat business.
That's right.
And again, it goes back to people too, and understanding human nature, that they are just trying to grow their own business. And as long as you feel like your missions are aligned, I think the agent community can be extremely helpful for really any carrier.
And so it's really about kind of making it easy for them by providing the right tools, easy access to information, freshness of information at their fingertips. Makes total sense.
Agree. Yep, it is.